Hi and welcome back. So today we are going to be discussing on writing task 1, where we are going to be focusing on different types of graphs, that is, or diagrams that is being explained when we are describing writing task, which consist of bar graph, line graph, pie chart, process, map, mix chart. Let's start with the bar graph and the line graph. So normally all the types of diagrams that comes there consist of 4 paragraphs. 4 paragraphs meaning that first paragraph is the introduction, where you are going to paraphrase the question given by the examiner. 1. Mention the trend, the general trend that is happening. What is a trend? The whole process that's happening there. Sometimes you need to learn more synonyms, which mean the same as illustrating, because whenever you are given a diagram, either it is showing something, or it's illustrating, or it is representing something. The next thing we have to mention is the name of the country which the whole process, the general trend is taking place, the year, and also the time frame. Sometimes you can also mention the unit of measurement that can be given. Let's go on the overall part, which we can say conclusion. I'm giving you one tip: never write conclusion. Normally it's overall. Overall simply means conclusion. However, in task 1 we are supposed to only say overall. So overall, it simply refers to when you are going to, when you're explaining something, there is always a conclusion. In the graph, there is always a part where the trend was on the peak, that is the highest, and the trend when it was on the lowest, and when it was on a constant level. So on the overall part, normally we have to explain 3 things: highest, lowest, and then constant level. Now let's go on body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. Now in body paragraph 1, you are now explaining in details. How do you explain in details? You are now starting to explain the differences, comparing according to the years or according to each and every line. Normally we have the horizontal and we have the axis line, right? So make sure that y-axis. So make sure that the differences that you can see, or the changes that took place yearly, or that took place maybe percentage, notice that. Now make comparison analysis. Compare the differences. Make all changes, or all significant changes that could be mentioned. Use them, and also all the differences, all the significant differences that could be mentioned, identify them so that you can get a good score. Remember, this is the kind of vocabulary which you can use, which is also applicable to a line graph and a bar graph. So if you use this kind of vocabulary, and also different types of sentences. Remember, in the last class we discussed on the different types of sentences examiner wants to see. So if you want to get a very good desired band score, make sure that you use complex sentences. So complex sentences, when you are describing, let's say, line graph and a bar graph, you need to use comparing, right? That means you have to show relationship also, right? And when you use those kind of complex sentences, you are going to get a very good score. And make sure that your handwriting is also on point. Or it's happening in Asia, or it's happening in Europe, mention the name of the country, mention the year, and sometimes you can also mention the unit of measurement, which is percentage usually. Now go on paragraph number 2, which is our overall, right? So on the overall part, the same thing that we have done in line graph and bar graph, it is going to be the same also. Make sure that on the overall part, you are supposed to mention the largest significant part being used, and the smallest and the constant level. And make sure that the following vocabulary, which I'm also putting on the screen, is applicable for you to get a desired 9 band score. When you use this kind of vocabulary, it means that there's less chance for you getting less score. And make sure that this vocabulary stays in your fingertips, so that even when the exam comes any day, you are ready for that. Now let's come to a map. Now, map is very good. You know why? There is 2 types of maps. There is before development and there is after development. This is what you need to know. Firstly, there is the first map, that is map A, then there's map B. So, introduction, you are mentioning the name of that's a map. The type of the diagram we're mentioning is a map. However, on the overall part, this is the main thing which you need to know. mention on the differences, significant differences, or the developments that took place. Normally, when you speak about a map, I'm giving you one example. Remember, if you go to a mall, 10 years ago, before the mall was established, it was only a simple solid ground. However, after 10 years, there is now shops, there is hospitals, there is schools, there are so many stuff that has been there. That is the same way how to describe a map also, because what you just need to know is development before and development after. So all the changes that took place. So both the paragraph 1 and both the paragraph 2, you are describing, you're mentioning the whole process and you're giving an overall. Now both the paragraph 3 and both the paragraph 4, now you're speaking about the differences, the significant differences. Sometimes there was no hospital, so you have to mention that the hospital was replaced by this. Maybe there was no third roads. That time there was only one huge road. So we are supposed to mention what has replaced this, or maybe there was a clinic, and that clinic now has been removed. So what was replaced, what was removed, what was converted. So this vocabulary again, which you are seeing, is also applicable for you to be explaining on a map. Now let's speak on the last one, mixed chart. So mixed chart simply refers that either you can get a bar chart or a bar graph. So the same vocabulary, it is only that everything is now mixed up. That means the diagrams are now mixed up. That means one paragraph into obviously introduction, where you're going to mention the two types of graph. Then you are supposed to use a complex sentence to show a comparison. Normally we can use while, we can use whereas, we can use and also to join the sentence, obviously. After that, make sure on the overall part, show one of the mixed chart. So let's say in this scenario, you have a pie chart and you have a bar graph. So make sure that one of the overall part, you mention on the bar chart and you mention on the pie chart. So give a conclusion of the pie chart and give a conclusion of the pie chart also. I mean, bar chart and pie chart. Now, when you go on paragraph number 3 now, that's where the tricky is. One paragraph should explain to you one of the diagrams. So if you're going to start with the pie chart, make sure you speak of the significant trend, the general trend that is happening, everything that, mention every significant detail which you think that is easily noticeable. So now, in conclusion, we come to table now. A table simply confuses many people. Why? I don't know why. But a table simply is data given. We have some columns and we have singular columns. We have, sometimes how information is represented. Normally, when you're trying to count the number of people who are living, sometimes maybe when you do population or census, we normally put male, female, and we put the number, right? That's how we're supposed to be describing. So, the secret about these types of graphs is that they want to see how good are you in identifying or in explaining any kind of graphs that normally comes in. And the good thing is I'm putting the vocabulary, which I think that if you use this kind of vocabulary, it's very applicable to for you to get a desired 9-band score. So I think this is all for what we're having today. And remember that IELTS is marked according to coherence is being considered, task achievement, coherence and cohesion, and grammar. So if you are able to achieve all these 4 things, you are going to get the desired 9-band score. Thank you for watching today's channel, and I hope to see you again.